I would say what keeps me up is just the reliance on a limited number of technology platforms, right? And this is why I've been urging my team, get more emails. Can we get more phone numbers? Talk to people directly. Facebook prices are so high right now. And if you have a bug in your account at Google, that throws you out for a few days. In the DTC world, you can't lose that much time. We do see nice traction from out of home though. That's the beauty of having a brick and mortar network. We can leverage billboards and digital screens, and you can run them up for a couple of weeks, take them down, move them around. And we've seen that, consumers play that back to us where they'll tell us that the very first time they learned of 10 was that they were walking around their neighborhood. So that's a channel that we've kept in the mix, and I don't see it going away anytime soon.
Hello and welcome to the DTC Podcast. I'm Eric Dick. Today's totally painless DTC Podcast features Matt Fitzgerald, CMO of Tend, which was founded with a direct but ambitious idea to make people look forward to going to the dentist by focusing on something overlooked by 4 out of 5 dentists, the complete customer experience. Matt is a veteran of the DTC space, having led growth at HelloFresh for many years. So in this podcast, you'll hear how Tend has made dental work Instagrammable to drive word of mouth and customer retention, how filling chairs in localized dentist offices is much different than scaling HelloFresh, how Tend finds and warms up new markets, and you'll also find out why Tend is really a staffing company and how their brand acts as a talent magnet. I hope you enjoy it. On with the show. Coley's content creation and management platform helps the world's top D2C brands enter new channels, reach more customers, and increase conversions through smarter creative that's authentic, made for you, and meets your needs cost effectively. Whether you're a brand marketer trying to grow on TikTok with authentic videos or a performance marketer looking to get more images to test in your ads to improve your return on ad spend, Coley has the creators and team to shatter your marketing goals. Visit Coley.com/DTC. That's COHLEY.com/DTC to request a complimentary consultation and get on the fast track to better content. Matt, welcome to the DTC Podcast. Can you start today by telling me a little bit about the why of Tend? Why was Tend created?
I'd love to. First, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I'm an avid reader of the newsletter. I pester my team with, ideas I get every week. So you guys are doing an amazing job. So to be on the podcast
Thank you.
Is a great honor for me. So why was Tend created? Well, Tend was created in that there was an observation that the dental industry is this really enormous industry, right? Everybody goes to the dentist.
About 140 billion in the US is what I researched, which is crazy.
Even more. This year is projected to be like 165 billion.
Wow.
So everybody goes. But unfortunately, many, many people don't have a wonderful experience. And the experience itself hasn't changed in decades. Maybe
and so people
longer.
Don't even expect to have a wonderful experience at the dentist, which kind of plays in your favor as well.
It's an incredibly low engagement category, and there is no expectation. You're totally right. It's just like, I gotta go, sometimes twice a year, maybe more, and nobody expects anything. And so we thought, well, what if you flip that on its head and make it all about the experience, right? So build beautiful studios, really lean into hospitality, have technology everywhere so that this is a very 21st century, modern experience. And that's what we set out to do when we built the brand Tend.
Amazing. And it's that delta between expectations and what you deliver, I imagine, that allows it to have that sort of viral experience where people are literally going to be Instagramming from the dentist's office after the fact. Is that what you're finding?
It is. We had with this ludicrous line that we wrote, look forward to the dentist. We actually believe that if we pulled this off, people would look forward to going to the dentist. And so when you walk into our studios, there's beautiful design, there's custom playlists, there's a custom aroma, and then there's this very Instagram-worthy location that we call the brushery. And it's these concrete cat-built sinks, and you can brush your teeth and get ready for your visit and take a selfie in our mirrors and kind of post that online and kind of enter our digital experience. And so we thought that people might be willing to do that. It turns out they absolutely are. And that if you have the right design experience, the consumer really will participate with it.
Super interesting. Now, how this all sounds lovely. The design aspect, the aesthetics, but they still got to stick things in your mouth and grind away and give you things that might not taste great. What is Tend doing to actually improve the actual dental experience? Is there anything there, or is it all more on the hospitality side of things?
So hospitality is very important to us. We really wanted to build a hospitality brand that was really personalized, right? Greet you by your name, have all the details from your prior visits, really make sure that technology, was centered to that. However, what's really important is how the clinicians engage, we call them members, with our members, to making sure that this is an incredibly soothing experience. So we use the absolute best tools, technology. Where necessary, we build, our own digital solutions. We're looking at AI to hopefully, aid with diagnosis. So we are doing everything we can. There is no part of this globe that we haven't scoured to find the best of the best materials and equipment to really make sure that you're comfortable when you're there. I mean, the sights and the sounds and the smells haven't always been so pleasant. And, we believe that you can change that for the better and still provide outstanding care.
Amazing. Now, what has happened? I'm just thinking about myself. I actually haven't been to the dentist in quite a while. I was told I have concrete teeth. I don't even know if I can get a cavity at this point. But I wanted to ask, what has the pandemic done to people's dental routines in terms of going to the dentist? Are people going to the dentist less now than they were, or has it just kind of continued marching on?
So when COVID first started, people probably took a step back, and were kind of waiting to, begin their dental kind of regimen again. And I say that was probably true for the first 4 or 5 months. So we started in New York City, and then COVID happened. And then really for a few months there, we were closed, and there was skepticism about going back, right? Both clinicians and patients. You're lying there, mouth open, and during a global pandemic. But what we learned was that there was just robust demand for this type of medical appointment. And as we reopened, as we enhanced our already very safe protocols, as we communicated very deliberately with our patients, everybody came back. We were building more practices. We had our wait lists were growing by the day because people wanted to take care of themselves, because during the real depths of COVID, right, and we're still battling this thing after 2 years, is that unfortunately, care at home is challenging on a daily basis, and people were grinding their teeth in their sleep. We're seeing, they were starting to have more dental emergencies, people that just wanted to be able to know what was going on in there after being away, maybe like yourself, for a prolonged period. And so there was a real need to fill. In addition, being on Zoom and on all of these video conference services, I think people were looking at their teeth a lot. And so a lot of people sought out aesthetic solutions. So teeth straightening, whitening, veneers. And so there was another whole side of the industry where you started to see demand return and grow very quickly, so that people maybe felt more confident in their presentation, during a video conference.
What's the price difference of a Tend experience versus a more traditional price experience? Is it about the same price? Is it a little more expensive? How does that work?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical, that this is an accessible, concept for, all consumers. We accept most insurance. We try to have very competitive prices if you unfortunately don't have insurance. In many cases, especially in the more elective procedures, so teeth straightening, whitening, and veneers, we actually try to deliver incredible value. So we don't come in at top of market, but we 100% have a premium experience. Right, so the environments and how the staff is trained and the digital experience, that's unrivaled. But we try to deliver it at a very, very accessible price point. And for most people, preventative care is 100% free. Mm-hmm. And so they get to have this incredible experience without having to turn over a single dollar out of pocket.
Very cool. Let's talk a little bit about your background. I was just sort of checking in on your CV previously, and you've just got a cornucopia of really interesting experience from brands like HelloFresh and more. So I was curious, what was it about Tend that made you really want to jump aboard and drive the ship?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate. I led marketing and sat on the executive leadership team of HelloFresh for about 4.5 years during the really, really heady growth period. And I think we tried everything you possibly can in direct-to-consumer marketing. And so it was just an incredible experience. But, we had exited, we'd listed on the Frankfurt Exchange. The business was really maturing. And I had a great gig, right? I was helping people cook real food at home, which I do myself. I absolutely love, dream job. But I was kind of young and, we were kind of done at HelloFresh, right? They're this big, beautiful delivery brand. And what to me is exciting is when you jump in early, right? You're early, potentially disruptive, building a brand, changing an experience. And so in my head, I kind of had a set of criteria. And when 10 kind of came along and was like, dental, I was like, dental? I'm not sure that's going to be for me. But as I started to learn more and I thought about my own oral hygiene, which I take very seriously, and it was seed, right? It hadn't even launched. I was like, you know what? This may be a chance to do it all again, right? To try to disrupt an industry, to build a brand that makes a difference in consumers' lives, to be really proud of, trying to bring modernity and technology to what's a fairly antiquated practice. And so there just that itch was alive and well. And after meeting all the people, or some of the people, there was only a handful of us at the company, I just knew this one had a real shot. So I took my shot.
So where are you now in terms of how many offices do you have?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're a little more than 2 years in. We have gone to 20 locations.
Wow.
We're up and down the Eastern Seaboard. So we're in New York, Washington, D.C., Boston, and recently opened Atlanta. So really, really excited about that. And, just to see how the teams have grown, how patients are starting to, like when we just put up our construction vinyl, how people are starting to get on the wait list. It's a concept that's really resonating. So it's been fun to see the expansion.
That's awesome. On the marketing side, what have been your biggest wins in terms of marketing this experience?
It's been tricky, actually, because it's different than where I'm from. So at HelloFresh, it was national, incredible scale, like try everything. And what I've had to learn at Tend is that you have to be much more precise and right size your marketing, because there's a concept of the chair hour. Okay, so you have a single hour and a patient, and if you don't fill that chair hour, you never get it back. You can't sell two. You can't stack the chairs on top of each other.
Yep.
And so maybe we couldn't go nearly as fast or maybe as big and bold. And we had to be much more precise in our targeting and really even focus on, as the best we can, one-to-one marketing. How can we have some kind of value exchange to collect your email or phone number, or some other personal information, so that we can kind of tell you what's going on. When are we going to open up new locations or roll out new services or offer, CPG products for care at home? That's been a big difference between where I was at HelloFresh and kind of how local and specific we are at Tend.
Really something you could broadcast with HelloFresh across countries even. Whereas
yes.
that idea of dental, the dental hours in the chair makes a lot of sense. So what are some of these one-to-one methods? Like what's something that's worked really well in getting people into the vision of Tend?
Yeah, so we've done a decent amount, with native or long form content. And so before we open up a market, we'll switch on, our marketing machine in a channel. And in doing so, we won't open up the booking until much closer to the first door launching. But we will ask for someone's email address. And so we'll describe the experience. We'll show it off in photos and videos. We'll drive people to a landing page that, will describe the market and give people kind of a more in-depth understanding on what it is. And in doing so, people, I think, are excited about the concept, and they'll volunteer their information. And then we'll have like a nice, steady, drip CRM relationship with them to prepare them for opening up our booking process, so that they can be among the first, to secure an appointment. Because these locations do fill up fast, and if you miss your window, you may be out a month or two. And so I think we have an obligation to provide a bit more information. This isn't a widget, right? This is healthcare. This is potentially changing someone's mouth, hopefully for the better. And so we really do have to educate, and that process can take time. But that is something, that kind of content marketing is something that served us well. Not necessarily on day one, but as we've evolved the mix over time, we've seen nice kind of behavior out of the marketplace from that.
And I imagine the retention is really strong as well. Obviously, very few products have built-in, twice yearly checkups into their market.
It's true. And we didn't have to invest in kind of celebrating that narrative, right? I think everyone in America knows you're supposed to go see your dentist twice a year. What's amazing is there are some insurance plans where you go 3 or even 4 times a year. That was eye-opening to me. But yeah, it's really great. Now the challenge is keeping someone engaged during that kind of 6-month cycle. And again, content plays a really big part of that. We want to help you take better care of yourself at home, but we know that every 6 months, we'll see you in person. And there's been some writing and some conversations about digital, the combination of physical and digital. And that's exactly where we sit. And so sometimes we're with you in person. Sometimes it's the digital experience. But to have that cadence and that really predictable cadence is really constructive.
Now, you've launched some products. I see the Breezy braces. I've got an 8-year-old whose front teeth are just coming in, and I can just tell she's going to need some braces. You also have other oral care products. Did you launch these the same time as Tend, or have they been kind of built upon after you launched the flagship sort of dental service product?
Yeah, so we really launched the flagship first. That was in our Flatiron neighborhood in New York City. And that really was about changing the hygiene experience. So that is your twice a year cleaning, x-rays, oral exam. Maybe you need some restorative care, right? You might have a cavity or two. And that's really where we started. Over time, though, we did want to make sure that we offered comprehensive services, and that included orthodontics for us. And that's what Breezy Braces is. It's a kind of a almost completely hidden behind the teeth system that allows you to kind of straighten your teeth without anyone really noticing. It's a really, really cool piece of technology, and we've seen strong demand for it. And so that's something that we're excited about. For the toothbrush and really what's about to be a full suite of products for at-home care, it's really important for us that we're not episodic. We don't want to just be twice a year, maybe 3 times if you need a little extra care. We think we can help you twice a day. And that's where the at-home program really comes in, the Sooth Sonic, and we have a bunch of products forthcoming, all beautifully designed, worthy of your countertop, because our theory is if you enjoy this, right? If you enjoy picking up the products, using them, it's part of your daily ritual, well, you'll take better care of yourself, and you'll come back and see us. And preventative care is by far the best way to kind of stay ahead of any issues. And so these products are, really proud of them. We think they're going to have great impact on the patient, and really get them doing it more frequently, because unfortunately that's the name of the game, when it comes to taking care of yourself.
I'm telling my daughter that every night. I'm like, you can't just pretend. You can't just wave that over your mouth. You gotta get in there. I think about
not with the diets that kids have, right? So with all the candy and sugary stuff, it's important that they're getting in there.
Oh, for sure. I think of my friend Josh Elizeche. I've had him on the podcast maybe 2 or 3 times now, and he's built an oral care brand, and he's kind of now moved into toothpaste and toothbrushes. But I think about your advantage of actually having the dentist and having that dental experience. How important is that in-office experience to the product? Are you sort of selling in those in-office experiences? You get a toothbrush when you go to a dentist. Are you getting a coupon for 50% off your electric toothbrush at a Tend dentist?
So we do provide like a beautiful gift when you come. So instead of just a plastic bag with random samples, it's our beautifully curated, 10 branded products. So we do want to send you home, with maybe a little starter kit. We try not to sell you, actually. Okay. I know that probably goes against the ethos of the DTC community and my previous background, but we would prefer to educate you, really show you the logic and why we've designed our at-home products a certain way. And that relationship you have with your dentist, and especially your hygienist, is critical to kind of taking better care of yourself at home, because so many times it's the hygienist who's recommending product or care to the member who may not necessarily like, how do you properly floss and which toothbrush is right for me? And I'm confused. There's a million toothpaste flavors and ingredients. How do I know which one is appropriate? And so people do seek expert opinion. And if you have a good relationship with that clinician, then you'll likely take their recommendation.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then how are the ads going because the Tend is such a unique experience. Like I say, the delta between your expectations and what you deliver. And then you've got the other oral care products. I think Breezy Braces are pretty unique. I've only seen this technology maybe in one other instance of people kind of going on inside of the mouth. But how has the marketing, the digital marketing gone for the non-in-office experiences? Has it been a challenge, or you've been able to go broader with that?
So I would say it's slow. I think what we're learning is, this is a category where when you were 5 years old, maybe 8, someone gave you a toothbrush and toothpaste, and it probably was Colgate or Crest. And that's kind of what you did for the rest of your life, right? Like everybody's a switcher in this category. And so that's why we're spending so much time working on the product itself, the product format, right? These are really beautiful. I have like samples at home, so I use it every day, but they're on my, sink top. They look amazing. When we have friends stop over, if they see them, they're like, hey, can I get some myself? So I think right now we're in that like early adoption, generate some awareness, get people to try it. Really make the claim that there is an alternative, and it's a great alternative to what's people genuinely accept in the category. And it's probably because mom and dad a long time ago, that's what they bought at the store, right? And then you didn't think much about it thereafter, unless maybe once in a while your dentist or hygienist thought you needed something else because of some issues in your mouth. But we're going to take a big swing at this and seeing if we kind of can't get people excited and kind of jolt them out of that stasis into something a bit more exciting.
I was just remembering back in my school days, I think we had the school nurse a couple times come in and show us how to brush on, one of those models of teeth. And I don't think my daughter's at a different school, so I don't think she gets that at all. Is there any, what else are you thinking of for education and how to kind of break into these wider markets?
I think influencer, is going to be important for us, right? I think it's a channel where, one, we get a lot of inbound requests from influencers, who are either in health and beauty or fitness, who are interested not only, say, in visiting Tend or doing breezy braces, but in the at-home products. And I think their ability to kind of demonstrate what this is, why it's a better version, that people currently have, the ability to break out of certain geos, right? Get away from our brick and mortar presence, more into digital distribution. I think that's going to be a really critical pathway for us, and get people, excited to induce trial.
Very cool. What keeps you up at night about marketing a product like this?
Well, I will say I'm going to give you two answers. The global pandemic, we were 6 months into this thing flying high, couldn't build them fast enough. And, you have the most infectious disease in 100 years, and a respiratory illness at that. And so that did. And we've learned, though, that the dental industry really is among the safest. They've done a great job with PPE and safety protocols, and very little has been traced to the industry. So I eventually got back to sleep on that. I would say what keeps me up is just, and I'm sure this is said often on the show, but is just the reliance on a limited number of technology platforms, right? And that the ability to access the consumer in a meaningful way, you're always at the whim of someone else, right? And this is why I've been urging my team to focus on, can we get more emails? Can we get more phone numbers? How do we do, live events where, we can talk to people directly? Facebook prices are so high right now. And, if you have a bug in your account at Google, that throws you out for a few days. And in the DTC world, you can't lose that much time, and so to de-risk the business and to move into, a more diversified mix. I would love that. I'm sure many of us would. And so, I'm often, find myself thinking about that.
What channels are you mainly reliant on now?
Well, it would be paid social search. You just can't get around it, right? And now with TikTok, it's even more, right? So every time you think maybe you could take a deep breath, there's some massive new thing. But, we do the best we can to diversify our mix, but those are still the big ones. We do see nice traction from out of home, though. And I think that's the beauty of having a brick and mortar network. We can leverage billboards and digital screens, and you can run them up for a couple of weeks, take them down, move them around, great ad recall. So that's one where we've seen that, consumers play that back to us, where they'll tell us that the very first time they learned of Tenwin was that they were walking around their neighborhood. So that's a channel that we've kept in the mix, and I don't see it going away anytime soon.
Yeah, actually, this is the first time out of home advertising has been mentioned on the podcast. We talked about outdoor media and talked about, but I just that's good to hear. I love it when new acronyms come on the podcast. So
Yes.
thanks for breaking
Yes.
that
No,
one.
out of home's been great. No, I mean, out of home is honestly like 10-15% of our members cite out of home as the place they discovered it. I'm very bullish on direct mail. We had immense success with it at HelloFresh. I mean, just a huge program. And we were starting to see some breakthrough before the pandemic, but with everybody relocating and the migration patterns, during COVID, we've had to hold back on direct mail as a result. So that's like a classic dental channel, right? Everyone's gotten a piece of mail about a dentist. Unfortunately, just with, especially in the urban settings, with people moving around so much in the last couple of years, we've been reluctant to kind of turn the program back on.
It's time to let your customers enjoy the products they love without the friction of reordering. That's why the world's most innovative brands like Peet's Coffee and Il Maquillage rely on Order Groove's subscriptions to build long-lasting customer relationships and deliver recurring revenue. Order Groove integrates with all e-commerce platforms, making the experience easy to manage and seamless for shoppers. From enrollment incentives to churn-fighting AI, Order Groove gives your business the tools it needs to be the next big subscription success story. Visit ordergroove.com/DTC to receive 2 months off your first contract. HelloFresh had a really strong, because I believe HelloFresh was the exact meal kit that we were on for several periods of time. And HelloFresh did such a great job with incentivizing customers to become affiliates by saying, hey, here's a free meal kit you can give out or give this out to various people. Is that something that you can kind of build into your market as well? How do you, besides providing an amazing experience, do you have other ways that you try to turn your patients into advocates?
Yeah, referral was huge for us at HelloFresh. I mean, probably our number one channel. Even years and years into that journey, it stayed high. And so, one member or one subscriber became 2 or 3. And that's exactly, what you want. So we do put some things in place here. This is a much more considered purchase in some respects, or purchase if you want to call it. You may not be in cycle, right? Just because I go doesn't mean it's your turn to go. Insurance plays a role. You may have something different than I have, and therefore the experience is slightly different. But our NPS is so high, and we have such positive word of mouth online that the referral component is important to us, and we do everything we can to give members the opportunity. We do offer a modest incentive in certain markets, and so we've made it kind of a top 5 priority for us this year. Because I just know the value, and it's one of the great loops, right, for paid advertising. And so I expect us to invest even more here, just given how good the experience is, and how people are talking about us online.
You mentioned Net Promoter Score, and this is something that I've learned about over the past couple of years running this newsletter, just trying to keep track of what our reviews are of our content. Can you talk a little bit about Net Promoter Score and how you've used it as a sort of central measure to make sure that you are delivering on this amazing customer experience?
NPS is a top 3 KPI for us. We watch it like a hawk. Everybody gets an opportunity after one of their visits. We call them visits, not appointments, to let us know how we did, right? And we use the traditional question and the traditional scoring system. But what we do then is we then try to break it apart in as many different ways as humanly possible. Because to me, NPS is only good if you collect qualitative comments, if you can have some type of sentiment tool analysis that can help you organize the qualitative feedback, and then you can prioritize work streams to actually improve, what's not working. So if there are clear themes in your detractors, well, that they're telling you what to work on, and a lot of it tends to be operational. So even if you have a beautiful operations business, most NPS comments will then give ops, or in our other case, revenue cycle management, which is how you kind of end up paying us through the insurance companies. It gives you very clear ways to improve. And that is NPS at its best, right? It's not just, we would love everyone to give us a 10, right? The world would be a perfect place. That doesn't always happen. And when it doesn't, you got to be ready to understand why and then put work into action. And so I love that part of NPS, right? It just gives you such great detailed information to making sure that the next time that person comes back, they have a great experience.
There's gold in Net Promoter Score for sure. What are your other? You mentioned your one of your top 3 metrics there. Can you speak at all about the other 2 top 3 metrics?
Yeah, I mean, we actually look at customer satisfaction as well, and it's similar but different. So we do ask the NPS question, classic NPS question. We do have customer satisfaction, and a lot of time that ends up being clinical satisfaction, because this brand is about being on the front line, with the frontline workers, right? So you're in the chair, dental assistants, hygienists, doctors, getting care, being confident in the treatment they recommend. How is our bedside manner? Were the tools comfortable?
How many questions did you ask with tools in people's mouths? That's like the number one issue I have at the dentist. Don't ask me questions when you're in the middle of cleaning.
Yeah, I hear you. We try not to do that. We even have like an intake process where you could tell us, do you want a talkative, appointment or not? But we do try to respect that. There, you can watch your favorite streaming show, on the ceiling. We have noise canceling headphones if you really want. So, I mean, that will tell the clinician, I don't want to talk to anyone right now. Yep. Beautiful Warby sunglasses to protect you from the glare. So we do a lot to make it comfortable and to also make sure that if and when you need treatment, that you believe in our credibility. And so that's why that second KPI is so important to us, because let's just say, for example, you might have a design experience breakdown, right? You waited a couple minutes longer than you should have, but you may have the best clinical experience. We need to be able to tell the difference between the two, because that clinical team may have provided outstanding care that day, and there was still opportunity to improve your overall experience. And so we do look at them side by side, especially that way we can provide feedback to the clinicians on what's working and on where they can improve.
Very cool. And your third metric?
Well, we have a ton. I mean, we're like every other digitally native brand, right? Where we look at everything from web traffic to app downloads to, who's logging into their patient profile. So like it does get a little wonky, after that. Those are like the two ones we probably put forward the most. But I mean, we're tracking, a number of items to making sure that we're giving a good experience.
I wanted to ask too, one of the harder problems I imagine in the dental world is the talent as well, and making sure that you're able to recruit the best dentists, the best, the ones with the best bedside manner and all that, best hygienists. How has Tend fared in that space?
You've hit the nail on the head. I always ask, and I'm going to meander here for a second. I always ask my team, what business is Rent a Runway in? And everybody will say, oh, fashion or, professional wardrobe or something like that. And I said, no, they're actually the country's largest dry cleaner. That's their business. They need to be the best at dry cleaning. So while we are a dental company, really at our core, we are a staffing company. And we build de novo locations. And so we have to staff them ourselves. And so we put a tremendous amount of effort into clinical recruiting, talent marketing, telling clinicians that not why did they pick dentistry, but why they should pick Tend, and how we're changing the experience for the better, both not just for the member, but for the doctor as well. And that, this is kind of come join the team that's fundamentally changing dentistry. And wouldn't you want to be at the forefront of practicing in that way? So the team does a remarkable job. We have lots of openings because we're growing so fast and opening so many doors that it's never going to stop. I mean, we will, by the time it's all said and done, we'll have thousands and thousands of clinicians across the country, who want to do this in a different way, and Tend can provide that opportunity. So it's a big part of what we do.
What does growth look like in 2022? You're at 20 doors now. You said exclusively East Coast. What does growth look like for you guys in 2022?
Well, we head west. So not exactly in this order, but we'll go to Nashville, Chicago, Minneapolis, and San Francisco. So we'll kind of double our markets, and we're going to try to get to about 40 locations, give or take. So we have a big year ahead of us. Pretty ambitious plans, as a business. But yeah, we'll be coast to coast, hopefully by about July, August.
Very cool. And what does your job as CMO look like when you're, so say Nashville. So take Nashville as a case. You're breaking into this market. What are the steps you take to make sure that you're going to make the biggest splash possible there?
It's really important for us, the 2 to 3 months ahead of time, that we seed the market the best we can. So that's everything from our construction vinyl, right? The second we sign the lease, we like to put up our construction vinyls, which tell you Tend is opening soon, we're recruiting, kind of that we do dental differently, and you should look forward to us coming to town. We even, we'll have the ability to go to a website and give us your email. And then we start to switch on marketing, well in advance. We do want people to know about us. We fight to secure, earned media coverage. We look to do experiential events on the ground. I mean, we really do want to swarm a marketplace so that on day one, the clinical staff actually has patients and a full schedule, and it's a fun, dynamic, exciting opening. And it's a positive to have Tend in your neighborhood, or as your neighbor. And so it's aggressive. I mean, it's always a little nerve wracking opening up a new market. We're even hiring a dedicated person to just new markets because it's that important to us. But each one has its own unique local elements, and you kind of have to figure out how to master them.
Local influencers, what else on the local front? Like, are you going as far as, getting, local newspapers, local magazines on board?
Yeah. So like in DC, that's exactly what we did. We had a partnership with a coffee shop that made a custom like mint toothpaste flavored coffee drink, which was interesting.
That's interesting.
People, they did enjoy the novelty of it, but we got like 500 leads from that day at the coffee shop. So like it worked. We partnered with like a local ABC affiliate who wanted to learn more about these locations, and that was really beneficial. We got some placement in magazines because you're creating jobs and there's economic activity. We really partner with our real estate partners. Right, so they own buildings and they have signage in their lobbies and in their elevators and events, and so. They want to help us, right? And so we really try to do an immersive, on the ground, experience so that we become, a fabric of the community. But it takes boots on the ground, a lot of local know-how, and maybe each market is slightly different, right? Like one thing that resonates in DC may not in San Francisco, so we're going to have to figure out, that local secret sauce.
Nice. What's the Gargler? I just found the Gargler on your website. The name just drew me in immediately.
Yeah, it's a fun name. We've really kind of had that since the beginning. We have a talented, content leader, and so this is his brainchild. It's our blog. It gives us a forum to really explore any topic, kind of oral healthcare related, and do Tend's take on it, right? So what does it mean to go to Tend? Should you be using charcoal in your toothpaste? Spoiler alert, probably not.
Should I? Because I actually am right now. I'll take this and I'll throw that out right away.
You don't want the Yahoo marketer telling you how to take care of your teeth, but
that's true.
Our clinicians and the people that really know what they're talking about would suggest that you should pursue an alternative to charcoal toothpaste. But the Gargler really gives us a chance to educate, to speak to the marketplace. We can feed the Gargler content into our app, so when you're home, if you have some questions, hopefully there's content that speaks to it. So that's really what it is. It's a lot of fun for us. We can announcements about the business when we launched our app or open new doors or, do a fundraising round. So it really has a wide mandate. And it's always part of any time we go to market or want to, talk to our consumers, it's always part of the mix.
I see that obviously insurance is a part of the business, being able to check what your insurance covers and whatnot. Have you ever thought about offering insurance? I bring this up just because, again, this Josh Elizeche friend of mine, he mentioned if he was building his company again, he would earlier on be building out actual insurance offerings to his customers. Is that something that Tend has thought about?
We've thought about it. I mean, we think about insurance pretty much every day. We have a whole team dedicated to just revenue cycle management. We probably, aren't quite ready, for that, whether we would do it ourselves or partner with someone who could help us do it. Right now, what we're trying to do is bring as much price transparency, to the experience ahead of time. So we have our insurance checker, which you do before your visit, whether you're just thinking about booking or after you've booked. So that way you understand exactly what your cost is before you go. So in the event that you do have some out of pocket, there are no surprises. There is no balance billing at Tend, nothing after your visit. Everything is up front. And so that's what we're working on with insurance right now, is trying to, curate the best insurance partners who also believe in kind of our use of technology to shed as much light on what is a really opaque part of the patient experience traditionally.
Nice. If I were to give you $50,000 to put into growth of Tend today, where would you put it in the next couple months to see the biggest growth return?
That's a great question. I think my boss would probably say, keep it, drop it to the bottom line.
Yep.
Personally, I would want to, try a new channel. right? I think like a testing budget is by far, the most important thing. Or try 2 to 3, smaller channels, things where, whether it's connected TV, streaming TV or YouTube, something much more probably video based, potentially super local, but something where, under the kind of more hard knock, hard nosed DTC thing, you kind of can't risk it, because $1 taken away from your core channels could ultimately inflate our acquisition cost. If I could do that, I would move towards testing and likely in a higher risk video based channel.
I've heard some amazing things about television recently. I'm going to have a friend of mine on the podcast who's an entrepreneur in Australia, and he has some stories about some friends that have just done extremely well with television, which is interesting because I imagine it's a high commitment channel where you've got to spend a lot, and you're not going to be able to do these small little buys in the way you might be able to on a TikTok or Facebook or Google, but I could just see huge dividends in there, especially, and I think anything visual, anything storytelling, even if you were to, I think podcasts could be a really interesting one for you, for people that are really able to have an experience and then talk about it as part of the ad. Have you tried anything in the podcast space yet?
We did pre-pandemic. We definitely did, and we've looked at opportunities. To kind of say like, just the tracking capability. We're very much like, if you can't track it, you can't spend it. So, what are the different kind of models in order to do attribution better, say through a podcast? So that is definitely one that would be on the short list. I did a ton of TV at HelloFresh. $50,000 is probably the minimum weekly buy for national DR remnant inventory, right? So you're looking at cable and you hope for the best that you don't get preempted, but that's probably the best you can do, and then you can kind of expand from there if you can validate, its impact on, website traffic. So yeah, TV still very much alive and well. The challenge with some of our, marketing is, again, getting down to zip 4, even like that level of specificity. Sometimes, with video distribution, that's really tough. I know of a few partners that can do it. It's the same thing in podcasts. Very few. We only found one that can get local enough. And so what we're trying to do is get a little bit of scale going. So potentially now we can, kind of play at the DMA level, or at least potentially aggregate maybe a couple of places together so that the buy makes more sense. The first couple of years, it was just tricky. We were so small that, one TV spot could overwhelm you probably. So that's part of that unique growth challenge, given that, how local we are.
Totally. Are there any other brands that you'd want to shout out? Any other brands that you think are doing that are either in your life personally, in your space that you're a big fan of?
I've been spending a lot of time with the coffee startup. It's a Home Tier. They do the frozen pods. I actually just ordered them today, probably 2 hours before this show. They have a great funnel. I'm a coffee nut. So people in my life will tell you that. And so someone recommended, I've been getting a lot of ads from them on Insta and the like, and then someone I trust actually recommended them yesterday. And so finally I pulled the trigger, but both in terms of their ad, the site experience, both mobile and desktop, so far the checkout experience, like it's been first rate, like really sharply well done. I'm looking forward to the delivery and then that first cup of coffee. They've done a really great job. They've got some great investors, for their early concept. And this seems weird, right? Frozen coffee that I pour a little hot water in. So I'm optimistic, but the coffee purist in me is a little skeptical.
And I guess it's a good fit as such a coffee lover that you're also on the dental hygiene side, so you don't get those nasty stains. And that kind of brings to my next question. Like, I feel like there's dental hygiene is one space, and then there's sort of like cosmetic teeth whitening, and I feel like those worlds are merging. But I bet in Tend they're merged really, really well. Would you agree?
Well, yes, we really intentionally offer comprehensive services so that you don't have to go to 4 different people to achieve one outcome, right? That just doesn't seem like a wonderful care experience. And so one of the big insights we have is that people often feel judged, right, when they go to the dentist, whether they drink coffee like me or dark beer, red wine, scotch, you get your teeth stained, maybe you're not flossing, and you feel when you're in the chair like you have to like defend yourself. And like, oh, I swear I'm flossing, and 70% of America isn't, kind of thing. And so it's important that all those services are there. And then how we talk to you about them. What are your goals? For some people, it's health. They just want a really healthy mouth. And there are things you can do. For some people, it's 100% aesthetics, right? They want beautiful, white, straight teeth, kind of the classic American dream. For some people, especially as they get older, they have far more significant restorative needs, and so they want to know that they don't have to go somewhere else. And so, we've really thought about those journeys and how today you might be one profile of patient, but tomorrow you may be someone who's slightly different, or you're approaching a major milestone and you want to brighten up your smile. So they're all great reasons, and we want to be able to credibly serve that need, and we want to keep you inside that 10 brand system.
Totally. Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast today. If you're out there wanting to know more about Tend, you should go to hello10.com and check them out. If people want to follow you and your marketing journey, where do they recommend they do that?
I would probably say LinkedIn would be the best place to find me. I can't say I'm the most prolific, kind of marketing leader in the digital world, but LinkedIn is probably your best bet. And, my head of comms tells me that, potentially Twitter might follow at some point. So I guess stay tuned.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the DTC podcast today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It was a real thrill.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at direct-to-consumer, all one word, .co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.